Some of you guys really seem to enjoy these fan idea read-throughs. I received emails with your ideas and some of you guys joined my Discord server to post them. So here are 3 more of your Fallout Dream games. Let's start off with Crownless King 17's Ottawa game. The game would feature a race selection system: human, ghoul, nightkin, supermutant, or a yeti-ish mutant, which would affect things like usable armor and perks, as well as quest completion methods. In addition, there would be a temperature management system. So the plot begins with the player joining a caravan en route to the Ronto, outside the new capital region of Ottawa, abbreviated NCRO, and the caravan is raided up. The player barely survives and makes it to a control vault meant to shelter Canadian government workers. The player is healed, given gear, and told to find a place called the Market that has other caravan jobs, and they can continue the player to Ronto before the harsh Canadian winter approaches. The player leaves and finds themselves in a power struggle in the NCRO. The main government is the Chambers, made up of old world beliefs that focus on keeping the inner city of Bywards happy and safe. They offer little to help non-city members. However, due to growing anger and population outside the core Bywards, they feel as if they may lose power. Other groups include the Carleton University Science Program, abbreviated as CUSP, who are set up in an old university outside the Byward, which is focused on rebuilding NCRO to a technological marvel it once was, with energy and transportation. They do have shady dealings though. Expat, a group of militarized American descendants, set up in a large hockey arena outside the West End. Their ancestors helped annex Canada and want to bring it back to those roots. There would possibly be more evil factions with minor ties to the Enclave or Brotherhood. And as said earlier, there'd be a Yeti or Sasquatch creature, but these would be ex-Canadian or American soldiers mutated via a new FEV strain. People of the Byward shunned them and forced them to live in colder areas of Gatineau Hills. They trade a lot of farmed animals and have made contact with Cups due to Cups' scientific intrigue. In addition, there's minor factions such as the Cannibal Raider tribe, called the Wendigos, and the Ghouls of Skid Row, non-pharaohs who work in the Byward but are forced to live in squalor. Crownless King also lists a few companions, at least one per faction. They each have basic information about their practices and skills. So my own thoughts. Overall, it sounds pretty interesting. There's a number of different things at work. Internal power struggles of a city sounds fun. I even like the idea of Yeti-inspired mutants. It's kind of fun. The only thing I'd probably recommend is stepping away from the new strain of FEV thing, but perhaps a mutagen unrelated to FEV, but created with a similar goal in mind. Given it's supposed to be a cold-resistant one, maybe Canada was working on something prior to annexation, or maybe America took over the labs and made them develop something to help fight battles in Canada. But other than that, I enjoy it. Coolvvv, once a game set in Hawaii. He describes the game as something that would include boats and underwater exploration, which is something fairly unused in the series. There would also be multiple islands to explore. Coolvvv says that the plot would be about Hawaii due to a lack of support, separating into tribes. Each of the major islands, short of Honolulu, belongs to these tribes. Naturally, the goal of each faction is to unify all the islands under their own flag. One tribe is like the Brotherhood, the soldiers of Pearl Harbor. They took over Oahu and have access to powerful ships. Maui belongs to the rich aristocrats with an absolute abundance of robots, Mr. Handys, Protectrons, and Assaultrons. Kauai belongs to a nature-loving group with the ability to control animals. This group used a device to achieve this specific goal, which is against the doctrine of their anti-technology stances. Honolulu, however, is both a starting ground and the main battlefield of each faction, as well as the least settled one. So this does sound fun. I've noticed that the nature group seems to be a bit more developed than most of the other factions, having a bit more history compared to the others. There does need to be building on each of their goals, motives, and history. I do like the idea of a boat traveling and underwater exploration. Maybe have mutated sea monsters to terrify us with. Regardless, it's fun to imagine a tropical island Fallout. Bebs doesn't get into the gameplay elements, but does jump into the plot. The player is held captive at a labor camp in Hong Kong, being suspected to be involved with a raider attack on a village that was driven off. The labor camp is then attacked by one of the major factions, one of the 3 warring tribes. A shout out to the Three Kingdoms War and Chinese history. You choose a faction and convince smaller ones to side with one of the major powers, a la New Vegas. Eventually, the player will help one of them rule over Hong Kong. The reason for this whole war is the ever-increasing count of FEV mutated creatures. The player may learn that American sub near the coast of Hong Kong released FEV into the area prior to the Great War to wreak havoc upon mainland China, as a method of ensuring they couldn't retaliate against the US following the Battle of Anchorage and invasion of China with powered armored troops. When I first read this, I wasn't sure how I felt about the idea of using FEV again in this particular story. It's China, after all. But given it was an American crew who did this, likely releasing a highly unstable variant of the virus, I kinda give it a pass. I could totally see them doing this if they felt that the damage that they would inflict would be worse than China possibly reverse engineering the virus by capturing a mutated creature. Regardless, I do think it could be interesting to explore China and Fallout, especially seeing what their political situation is. The 3 factions, 3 kingdom reference is nice, but we definitely need to learn more about each of these guys. Speaking of 3, that was 3 even more Fallout fan ideas. And a special thanks to my channel members, especially my Members Twice Over guys, the Crazy Game Developer, and Danny McPhee. If you want to support me and join us well, I'd be more than happy. Also, feel free to join my Discord server and chat with us. Thank you. Have a good one.